y'all doing out there? My name is Sheila, and I love to cook. I also love having fun. So I thought, why not combine the two, cooking and fun? As I went through my cabinets, I said, what is it that I can pull out of this cabinet that I can cook with my friends today that might be a little fun? In my cabinets, guess what I found? This bottle of Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I said, okay, I can do this. So what is it that I can put this whiskey in that would be fun? So wait a minute. My favorite dessert, German chocolate cake. I know, y'all sitting out there saying, this girl done lost her ever-loving mind to think that she can put whiskey in a classic German chocolate cake and think it's gonna come out all right. Well, guess what? I've done it before. It was awesome. And I'm gonna do it again today with you. And I guarantee you, you too will think it's awesome when you finish. So I'm gonna take this Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, put it into the batter of the German chocolate cake. We're gonna bake that up, and then I'm gonna get to the good part, because what I feel is the good of a German chocolate cake is that pecan coconut frosting. We're gonna cook that, and guess what? We're gonna put this in that too. We're layering on the taste, the goodness, this Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. So let's get to it. We're gonna start with the ingredients. We're gonna make the batter, bake it up. Then I'm gonna put you over the pot when I'm putting together that pecan coconut frosting. Pecan. I'm from Mississippi, it's pecan, okay? We're gonna put that pecan frosting together. We're gonna slather it on this German chocolate cake, and then we're gonna get down to some eating. We're gonna put a couple of more pounds on these hips. Okay, y'all hang with me and let's get this started. As you can see, I have prepared the 3 baking pans to receive the batter. I use Baker's Joy to prepare my pans. I like using Baker's Joy because it combines the flour and the oil in one step. So I just sprayed down each of my pans with that Baker's Joy, and now they are ready to receive the batter. Your option to using Baker's Joy is still using Pam. If you use Pam, make sure that you after you spray your Pam on, that you put flour in the pan and move the flour around in your pan. Pour out the excess and then have your 3 pans ready when you finish your batter, so that you pour it right in and go straight to baking. I am using 2 boxes of German chocolate cake mix. Now, for years, I've made this cake starting with the flour base, but in recent years, I've found that using this cake mix and putting my other ingredients in it, that this cake turns out just as good as if it were with me starting with the flour base. So I'm using the cake mix. I'm also using an 8-ounce tub of sour cream. I'm using a light version, but I think that's just because what I picked up, but feel free to use the full fat version if you want to, or the light version. It comes out the same. I'm using a 1/2 cup of milk, and this is almond milk that I'm using, and that's simply because that's what I drink, but feel free to use the milk that you pour on your cereal. Okay, and that's a 1/2 cup of that. I have a 1/2 cup of water that I'm using. I'm using 3/4 cups of vegetable oil. I am using 5 large eggs, 2 tablespoons of that Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. 2 tablespoons of that I am using in the batter of this cake. Now, this right here is one of my little secrets whenever I'm baking something made with chocolate. I use a packet of instant coffee. that coffee tends to intensify the chocolate taste in any chocolate dessert that you're baking, and I just love using that. I buy it in the little packets because I do not drink instant coffee, but I find when I buy it with the packs, it preserves longer when I have it in the pantry. So I'm using 1 pack of this instant coffee in my cake batter, but that is an option for you to use. You do not have to do that. Your cake is still going to be great. I just like the added flavor that it adds to the cake. Now, once I have put all of these ingredients together, the last thing I'll be putting in this cake will be some of these semi-sweet mini morsels. And this is a 10-ounce bag here, and I'm gonna use a half or a little bit more than half of these little morsels in this cake. So as you can see, I've already put my 2 boxes of German chocolate cake mix into the bowl. Now, to this I am adding my 8 ounces of sour cream. And as I told you, I'm using the 50% less fat version, but feel free to use the full fat version if that's what you have in your refrigerator or if that's what you want in your cake. Okay, next I'm adding the ½ cup of almond milk. And again, as I told you, I am using almond milk because that's what I drink on my cereal or place on my cereal, but feel free to add the milk that you drink in your cereal. That's a ½ cup of milk. And I'm adding all of my ingredients at once because I do not like to turn on the mixer until everything has been incorporated into the bowl, because I have a thing about that flour puffing up on me. You know, it's just a thing. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put in here my ½ cup of water. Okay, I'm just going to kind of pull that together just a little bit. All right. In this 3/4 cups of vegetable oil. All right, there. It's coming together. Okay. Now I have my 5 eggs here. I'm gonna go ahead and add those. And it's not like a pound cake where you have to add 1 egg at a time. This is a German chocolate cake. And when you're making this cake from scratch, it requires that you separate the yolk from the white of the eggs, because it gives it that ability to rise. But with this cake mix, you can just put it all in, just like I'm doing right here. I'm just kind of wetting all of the ingredients. Now, okay, I'm gonna now go ahead and put in my 2 tablespoons of Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Okay. And now I can go ahead and add my little pack of instant coffee. Now, this, I wet all of the ingredients pretty much. Okay, so now I can go ahead and get my blender ready. And I'm gonna put this on the speed of 2 to get it started. And you see how I'm turning my bowl to just kind of get everything. Ooh, and Lord, I can smell that whiskey. Ooh, that smells good. Okay, we're getting everything put in there together. I'm going around the edges of this bowl to make sure I have everything. And I'm going to try to beat it right now. I'm going for about 1 minute. And then I'm going to scrape down. I don't know if you could hear me, but I was trying to beat for about a minute before I scrape my bowl down. And then I'm going to go for another minute, okay? So let me get this off of here. All right. Put this right over here. Okay, I'm going to scrape my bowl down with my spatula. Clean, because every little bit counts. Oh Lord, that's a saying in one of those diet commercials, I think. Know your ABCs, every bite counts. So here, every bit counts. I'm gonna come down the side. I can smell that coffee in there, y'all. This is gonna be good. It's gonna become one of your favorite recipes. So now I'm gonna put it back on the speed of, I'm gonna go to the speed of 3, and I'm gonna try to go for about a minute here. Show you that when we release the beaters from the batter, we were gonna add the semi-sweet mini morsels last, and I measured them out, and I'm actually using a cup and a half. So I'm gonna get that into the batter. I'm gonna swirl this around real good throughout the batter, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add this to our 3 prepared cake pans, and I'm gonna put this in the oven. My oven is already preheated at 350, and I have a gas oven. It's preheated at 350. I'm gonna put these 3 layers on this. The rack is already in the center of the oven, not at the top, not at the bottom, in the center. And I'm gonna put these 3 layers in the center of the oven, and it's gonna remain in there for 27 minutes. Now the box says from 25 to 30 minutes, but I just kind of split the baby in the middle and let them stay in there for 27 minutes. And then I'm gonna insert a toothpick right into the center of the layers to make sure that when the toothpick is removed, that there's no sticky batter on the toothpick, and that lets me know that this cake is done. And don't get confused if you stick the toothpick in and it hits one of the melted chocolate morsels. You may think that the batter is not done, but that will just be melted chocolate on the toothpick. But at 27 minutes, from my experience, this cake is ready. Now, I want to say to you all, do not come for me about these 2 pans right here. These 2 pans have been baking with me for almost 20 years. These dark colored pans that you see right here, they've been scrubbed with SOS through the years and what have you. But it's just burnt through the years and all the different things that have been baked in these pans. These pans have produced birthday cakes, potluck cakes, church social cakes, you name it, Christmas cakes, Thanksgiving cakes, about 20 years. So a real cook, their pans are gonna look like this unless they just decide to throw them out and get some new ones. But these pans serve me well. Matter of fact, these pans have more miles on them than this one, as you can see. I prefer these darker pans right here to this one, but when I'm doing a 3-layer cake, I have to pull this little puppy out, and I think this one been with me probably, I don't know, about 10 years, and you can see how it still looks like this. These right here, these get the job done. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and put these layers in the oven, and when we come back, we'll be over the stove putting together our pecan coconut frosting for these 3 layers for this German chocolate cake. And I got a feeling, honey, this cake is gonna be so good. You all will see. Honey, they might stop calling a German chocolate cake and start calling a Kentucky bourbon cake. I don't know. But at any rate, let's do this. Let's put them in the oven. See y'all in a minute. We've already finished putting together the batter, and those 3 baking pans of batter are already in the oven. And remember, we're baking those for 27 minutes on the center rack at a temperature of 350 degrees. Okay, now we're going to get ready to put together the pecan coconut frosting for that cake. And that frosting is also going to be infused with that Kentucky whiskey. Okay, so let's go through the ingredients and then we'll get over the pot and we'll be ready to put this together. Okay, y'all ready? All right, let's go. Let's go through the ingredients that we're going to need to put together this coconut pecan frosting. You're going to need 12 ounces of evaporated milk, 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, sticks of butter. This is the yolk of 4 large eggs that has been slightly beaten. And oh yes, we're going to use about 2.5 tablespoons of this Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Now, when we finish cooking these first 5 ingredients for about 12 minutes, we're going to turn the pot off, and then we'll be adding the last 2 ingredients, basically just incorporating that and then letting it cool till we get ready to put it on the layers of this cake. The last 2 ingredients we're going to put in after the pot has been turned off is this is about 2 1/3 cups of sweetened coconut flakes and about a cup and a little more than a half of these Mississippi pecans. Now, I'm from the pecan state of Texas, but I grew up eating these pecans right here, and every year I have a very good friend in Mississippi who sends me this canister of pecans from my hometown of Clarksdale, Mississippi. And I have 2 more ingredients that I want to talk to you about real quick that is optional to be used in this cake. One of those ingredients is used in garnishing my pecans for this cake. One of those ingredients is baker's dipping chocolate that I use to coat a few of the pecans to garnish the cake with. And I'll talk to you all about this ingredient also. This is a little bit of creamy chocolate fudge frosting that I'll show you how I use this, or as an option for some of you to use. Okay, so let's get in this pot and get this frosting started. All right, see you in the pot. Okay guys, so we're over here over the stove now, and what you're seeing in my pot is that 12-ounce can of carnation milk. So we're going to go ahead and add all of these other 4 ingredients at once. So this is the carnation milk. To that, I'm going to go ahead and add the 1.5 cups of sugar, granulated sugar. And I have the stove already on, and it's on about a medium. It's at the number 6 setting. So I'm gonna stir this sugar in to kind of get it going with this milk. And we're gonna be stirring this frosting the entire time for about 10 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my timer on 10. Altogether, it's gonna be about 12 minutes, but it's gonna be 10 minutes to bring this together, and then for the last 2 minutes, I'm gonna add the whiskey in here, the bourbon whiskey in here to burn some of the alcohol off. But I'm not really interested in burning all of the alcohol off because I want some of that taste to still come through in this frosting. Now I'm getting ready to go ahead and put the butter in there, and remember I'm using 1.5 sticks of butter. I'm not using margarine. I've never used margarine in this recipe, so I don't know how that will do. It may do okay, but I've never done it, so I'm not gonna say for you to do that. I'm gonna ask you to use the butter, what I've always used for the umpteen years that I've been cooking this particular cake. All right, so that's my 1.5 sticks of butter, and I'm gonna break that up a little bit. And y'all don't say nothing about my spoon, my wooden spoon. This is my small spoon, and this spoon been with me probably longer than those 2 dark pans that you saw. But it gets the job done, and this is my favorite, one of my favorite cooking tools. These old beat up ones. You can tell they've put in some time. They've hung with me. So we got the 12-ounce can of evaporated milk going. We've got the 1.5 cups of sugar in here going. We got 1.5 cups of butter in here going. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in the 4 beaten egg yolks. Okay? And I have to stay with this pot. You don't want to leave this alone because you don't want this to stick or anything like that, or to burn, because these ingredients are expensive. You're talking about butter and sugar and eggs and whiskey and all this kind of stuff. So you certainly don't want to put it in there and it burns. So you have to stay over this and keep it stirred. So those are the first 4 ingredients that we're going to continue to stir this for 10 minutes. I have my timer on 10 minutes, and I'm not going to add the whiskey until the last 2 minutes. So after the 10 minutes, I'm going to add the whiskey, and then we're going to go for 2 more minutes. So I'm going to turn that off, and then I'm going to set my timer for 2 more minutes, because at 2 minutes, I'm going to turn it completely off. At this point right here, I'm going to go ahead and add. Y'all hear that? Ooh, that, God, it smells so good. Ooh, that whiskey smells good. Okay, so I went on and added the whiskey, and I want that to burn off just a little bit. Just a little bit. Within this last 2 minutes of cooking, basically, probably about a minute. I'm going to cook a minute, because I don't want all of that to burn off. But ooh, you can smell it. You can smell it. Lord, can you smell? Not what the Rock is cooking. Can you smell what Shelia is cooking? Yes. Isn't that beautiful? Mm-hmm. And I'm pushing it because the cook time for this is really like between 10 and 12 minutes. And I just told you when it gives me that range of times, I always try to split it right in the middle. So I'm down to 1 minute now. And since I don't want all of that alcohol to burn off, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. You see, it's a little deeper golden color than what it was when we started out. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off, and it's still going to spit at you for a little bit. Okay? See those bubbles? I call that spitting. Like you'll see me once I cooked y'all some grits. You'll see those grits spit at you too. And that's letting you know, hey, mama, I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay, I've turned the eye off here. And so now I'm going to go ahead and add in that 2 1/3 cups of sweetened coconut flakes. Okay, I'm going to turn this timer off. Okay, so here we're adding our coconut. All right. And the 1.5 cups, a little bit more than a half, because I was, I chopped up a little bit more, and so I just went on and used them rather than put them back in the freezer. And that's what I preserve, because I get those pecans. Like I said, my friend sends me from Mississippi. When I get them, I don't cook every day or every month using the pecans, so I put them in the freezer to keep them fresh, and I bring them out when I'm cooking. Now y'all look at this pecan frosting. Look at this pecan frosting, and I'm telling you, you can smell that whiskey. And doesn't that look good? Don't you want to just jump in this pot with this coconut and with these pecans and with that whiskey and that butter and that milk? Look at that. Y'all, I'm telling you, This right here is not meant for the weak at heart, I'm telling you. So we've got this all together now. And now this has to cool completely before you add it to the layers of that cake, or it's just gonna melt. It's not gonna even stick with the cake. So this is done. We're done with this. It just has to cool now. Cool completely. We're back. When we left with this coconut pecan icing cooling. So here it is completely cooled. I let it cool for about 4 hours because I need to make sure that it was completely cool before I apply it to the cake. Because as I told you, if you try to apply it to the cake before it is cool, the layers are going to slide all over the place. The layers also, they finished baking. They baked for 27 minutes exactly. So now they're at the right place to receive this icing. The layers are completely cool, as well as the icing is completely cool. And you can see I have all 3 of the layers here. I went ahead and placed the first layer onto my cake plate. And I always place my bottom layer with the flat side down. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the icing to the layers. And as you can see, I separated my icing into 3 bowls because I want to make sure that I'm giving each layer the same amount of love, okay? Because I don't want this cake cutting up on me because it said you gave one of them more than you gave me. So I'm going to go ahead and put this first layer on here. Okay, and I'm going to use my spreading spatulas. I told you all, I don't waste anything when it comes to this cake. So I'm going to go ahead and spread this on. And with this cake, it's so decadent. I don't put the icing around the sides like some people like for their cakes to be. The icing all over it, and that's one of the reasons I want to talk to you all about using that chocolate icing if you must. But look at those pecans. And y'all, I can smell it. Now this thing has been cooling for 4 hours, and I can still smell that bourbon so well. So here we go. And so I got that all the way on there, you can see, and I want it to kind of ooze out on the sides. Okay, so there, have that one. Now I'm going to take my next layer and I'm going to also turn that one up because we're looking for that flat side to be on top. Let me get a napkin because I don't want no problems. So I don't get all over there. I try to be neat when I'm doing things here. I try to be as neat as I possibly can when I'm in the kitchen, you know. So I'm going to take the next layer. I'm turning it up. You see how I can just, you know, move it with like that? Isn't that something? So I'm going to take it here. I'm going to press it a little bit, just a little. See? And my hands are clean, so I told you I'm real fun about it in the kitchen. Everything's got to be right. This cake, I know y'all say, that's a tall cake. Yes, it is. Now, this cake, you know, people say cake serves, how many it's supposed to serve and whatnot. Well, I can't tell you how many this cake is going to serve, but when I was growing up, we didn't have very much growing up, and a cake like this probably would have served, you know, 20 people. But today's people seem to be doing so much better economically, and they can afford a big cake like this serving 8 people. So that's your call. But it is a very tall cake. Now, it is your option to cut out that second box of German chocolate cake mix, and you will then have a smaller cake. But I like this cake to really go far, you know. I like to really serve it up when I'm serving this cake right here. Because as I told you, it is my favorite. So you kind of play with that frosting to get it where you need it to be. And sometimes, you know, I put a little parchment paper down keep it from getting on my cake plate like that, especially if it's something I'm taking out. But this one, I'm just doing this for you guys, and then I'll probably serve it up to some friends. Okay? Alright, now I'm going to put my last layer on. This layer I'm going to turn up. I'm going to keep it down, sorry. I'm going to keep it down. I'm going to press it a little bit. Of your food, because I want a smooth, flat layer on top. Y'all see that? Okay. I'm coming with my last bowl. Yeah, see, get a little cake, all happy with this Kentucky bourbon in it, bourbon whiskey in it. Every layer received the same amount of love. They received the same amount of chocolate chips, the same amount of coconut pecan frosting. So everybody happy. So, and your tongue gonna be happy too when you get into this. So I'm just kind of pulling this down, pulling it down. I'm pulling it down. Turn it this way. So that's all I'm doing. Just kind of, yeah. Honey, if you think it's looking good on that camera, baby, eyes have seen, ears have heard, but stomach has not tasted yet. When you put this right here together, baby, tell me about it. There we go. See, they're coming. Make sure I push it out to the edges. There we go. Okay. So when we left, I was going to melt my chocolate. Melt that little chocolate candy. This right here, this dipping sauce that I told you about. I melted that, and I dipped my pecans in that chocolate. And so that's what I'm going to use to garnish the cake. I went ahead and took a little bit of this frosting, and I dolloped a little bit in the center of the cake, and then I surrounded it with a few flakes of my coconut. So that's all you see here in the center. And so now what I'm going to do is add my pecans. I melted these about 16 of those little discs. I melted it for about 30 minutes, then I stir, and then another 30, a minute and a couple of seconds. But follow the directions on the box for the melting of the chocolate. Okay, so now I'm going to use these pecans to finish off garnishing this cake, and then this puppy is done. So I'm just going to put a few around, like so. And I only dipped half of them in the chocolate. I'm going to come here. Just a little something like this. And as I told you all, this is totally optional. Totally optional. All the way optional. And then I'm just going to stick this one in the center. Something like that. All right. Pressing them in a little bit so that they're staying. And voila, there you have it. The German chocolate cake inspired by our little friend right here, this Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It wasn't very difficult to make. We did it, just a little shortcuts here and there, and put it together. It's a beautiful thing. It's wonderful. I want to thank you all for staying with me and enjoying this ride along with me when I took my booze and added a little food with it. So thank you for letting me add a little food with my booze and having fun with you all. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you all around. Bye-bye.